Today's lesson covers pages 4 and 5 of our textbook. Lesson 2, Solving Linear Equations. The most basic equations are those where the variable, say x, is only raised to the first power. These are called linear equations. To solve linear equations, the first thing we want to do is we simplify the left-hand side and then the right-hand side when possible. And then we use PEMDAS in reverse order. So we would undo any addition or subtraction first, and then any multiplication or division. Exercise number 1A, we have the equation 3x plus 5 equals 26. Well, there's nothing to simplify on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. But here is our variable x. And we would like to get x by itself. Well, we have this plus 5. So that's the first thing we do is undo the plus 5 by subtracting 5 from both sides of our equation. Make sure we always have to keep our equation in balance. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So we end up with 3x is equal to 26 subtract 5 is 21. We have 3 times x. Remember, we want to get x by itself. What undoes multiplication is division. So we divide both sides by 3. X equals 21 divided by 3 is 7. B, 8x minus 7 equals 4x minus 5. There's nothing to do on the left-hand side. There's no simplifying that needs to be done, nor on the right. But here we have an 8x on the left and a 4x on the right. It's my habit to always get the terms containing our variables together first. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. 8x subtract 4x is 4x. Bring down the minus 7, bring down the equal sign, and bring down the negative 5. We're looking to get this x by itself, so undo the subtraction of 7 by adding 7 to both sides. 4x is equal to negative 5 plus 7 is 2. That's 4 times x. Undo multiplication by dividing by 4. So x equals 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2, or the decimal equivalent 0.5. Now in C, we have this fraction here as a term. And oftentimes it's best to, if you can, get rid of a fraction. In which case I'm going to do that. We have 6x plus 1 divided by 2. The denominator being 2, what undoes division by 2 is multiplication. So we can multiply by 2. But we'd have to multiply every single term remaining in the equation by 2. Now, when we take 6x plus 1 divided by 2 times 2, these 2's divide right out, and we are left with 6x plus 1. Positive 7 times 2 is positive 14. Bring down the equal symbol. X times 2 is 2x. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. Now we have combining of like terms to do on the left-hand side. 1 plus 14 is 15, so we have 6x plus 15 is equal to 2x minus 8. Subtract 2x from both sides. 4x plus 15 is equal to 2x minus 8. Excuse me. 2x is gone. It's just equal to negative 8. And now subtract 15. 4x is equal to, put my equal sign back in, negative 23. And divide by 4. X is equal to negative 23 over 4. Or we can write its decimal equivalent, negative 5.75. Don't be concerned if you end up with improper fractions for answers. That's perfectly fine. We are not always going to end up with some nice numbers like the integer 7 back here. Next up is D. D looks a little bit complicated also. Again, we've got this fraction here. So I'd like to do the same thing as we did in C, and that is to get rid of that division by 2 and that fraction, so we multiply by 2. Come on. Times that by 2, and then we have to times every term by 2. Now this is a term here on the right hand side. That's just one little more complicated term. So we multiply that by 2. Here when we multiply, those 2's divide out, and we have 3 times x plus 2. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2 equals, and in this case, I'll take the negative 5 times 2 is negative 10 times parentheses x plus 1. We've got some simplifying to do now. Distribute 3 over the parentheses. That's 3x plus 6. Bring down the minus 2, bring down the equals. And we're going to take this negative 10 and distribute it over the parentheses. Negative 10x minus 10. We combine like terms on the left-hand side. Positive 6 and negative 2 is positive 4. And let's bring down the right-hand side. And now let's get our x terms together. Negative 10x here on the right side is much smaller than a positive 3x. So we add the opposite. We add 10x to both sides. 13x plus 4 is equal to negative 10. And subtract 4 from both sides. 13x is equal to negative 14, and divide by 13. So x equals negative 14/13. Looking at equation in E, solving for x, on the left-hand side we have distributing to do. 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 4 is positive 24. And we distribute the negative 2, and make sure you pick up the sign. All right, so negative 2 times x is negative 2x, and negative 2 times negative 1 is a positive 2. We have combining of like terms on the left-hand side, 6x, and negative 2x is 4x. Positive 24 and positive 2 is positive 26, equals 2x plus 20. Let's get our x's together. So we're going to, in this case, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. 2x plus 26 equals 20. And subtract 26 from both sides. 2x equals negative 6. And divide by 2. So x equals -3. Sometimes any value of x will solve the equation. This is known as an identity. When each side is simplified, the sides are identical. Solve the following equation. State whether the equation is an identity and explain. Okay, so to solve this equation, we simplify the left-hand side by taking the -2 and distributing it over our parentheses. So 6x minus 2x minus 8 equals, on the right-hand side, we need to simplify. Three times x is 3x. 3 times +2 is +6. Bring down the plus x, minus 14. Combining like terms. On the left-hand side, that's 4x minus 8 equals, combining like terms on the right-hand side, it's 4x. +6 and -14 is -8. Okay, I'm going to stop here. Why? Because these are identical. This and this are identical. So this is an identity. The left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. If I were to continue to try and solve this, right? Next, I would subtract 4x from both sides. And I'd get -8 equals -8. And if I continued further, well, we no longer have a variable, so it no longer can be solved. But -8 equals -8, that happens all the time. Or in this case, 0 equals 0. So an identity is an equation that is true for all values of the variable. In exercise number 3, we want to consider this equation, and we're asked to simplify each side. Left-hand side, there are some like terms to combine. 2x and +1x is 3x. And a -6 and a -1 is a -7. On the right-hand side, we'll distribute this 3x minus 9 plus 2, and combine like terms on the right-hand side. We can stop there and don't continue further because this is an identity. This is an identity if the two sides are identical. This left-hand side is exactly the same. It is identical to the right-hand side. So this is considered an identity. Which of the following equations are identities? Okay. So to determine whether or not something is an identity, we simply compare the left-hand side. Does it equal the right-hand side? So in A, we simplify the left-hand side. We're going to distribute -2 over the parentheses. -2 times x is -2x. -2 times +3 is -6. Combine like terms there and get 6x minus 6. The right-hand side, distribute the 5. That's 5x minus 5 plus x. Combine like terms, 5x and 1x is 6x. Are these identical? No. So these are not equal, so this is not an identity. Now B, we have a fraction here. Our first term is a fraction. Again, I can do as we did before, and that is get rid of division by 2 by multiplying every term in the equation by 2. All right, so when I do that, these here divide right out, and I'm left with 4x plus 2. And then positive 8 times 2 is positive 16. And 2x times 2 is 4x. And 9 times 2 is 18. Combine like terms on the left side. That's 18. So, oh, yes, this is an identity. 4x plus 18 equals 4x plus 18. Left-hand side equals right-hand side. Exactly, they're identical. So there is another way of going about this one in particular, because that original fraction here each term of the numerator is divisible by 2. So I can take 4x and kind of just break this fraction up into 2. 4x over 2 plus 2 over 2 plus 8 equals 2x plus 9. And 4x divided by 2 is 2x, and 2 divided by 2 is 1. And combining like terms, we get 2x plus 9 equals 2x plus 9. Identical. So that's just an alternate way of simplifying the equation here in B. C, as always, simplifying the left-hand side, simplifying the right-hand side. Now on the left-hand side, this subtraction, because it appears in front of a parentheses, I will always kind of bold it. And that means I have to subtract each term that follows in parentheses. So let me just bring down the 2x and the plus 8, and then it's going to be a minus x and then a minus negative 7. And I know a lot of you would have just gone right to the minus negative 7 is a plus 7. Combine like terms, that's x plus 15. Right. Does it equal the right-hand side? Well, let's just distribute the 2 on our right-hand side, and we get 4x minus 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Does x plus 15 equal 4x minus 6? No. Again, we are not solving here. We are determining which equations are identities. Right, so we don't need to go any further. The left-hand side does not equal the right-hand side. So this is not an identity. And in D, simplify the left-hand side. We have this distributing to do. So we have 2x plus 1 plus 2x minus 2. Combining, that's 4x. Positive 1 and negative 2 is negative 1. Now on the right-hand side, is each term here of the numerator divisible by 4? It is. So we could actually take 16x, divide it by 4, and then minus 4 divided by 4. 16x divided by 4 is 4x, and negative 4 divided by 4 is negative 1. So 4x minus 1 is equal to 4x minus 1. So this is an identity. Okay, that concludes our lesson for today. Again, I thank you for your attention.